Antoine walked slowly through the crowded streets of Paris, surrounded by the din of the city. Cars passed by incessantly, and the voices of passers-by created a continuous background. But to him, the outside world seemed distant. He was just a silent figure in an anonymous crowd. Every step he took reminded him of the weight of what he had lost. Not only his company, but also his role in society, his sense of belonging to a world of success and recognition. The life he once considered safe and stable had collapsed in a few months, leaving him with nothing but his bare existence. Do you want to discover how Antoine will find a new path in the midst of chaos? Stay with us, and don't miss this journey of rebirth. One evening, tired of wandering, he stopped in front of one of his former boutiques. The windows still shone with light, but inside there was nothing that belonged to him anymore. It had become a foreign place. He remembered the days when he received exclusive clients and attended gala events. That life now seemed far away, like an unattainable dream, a dream that had shattered too quickly. It was ironic, he thought, how everything he had considered essential had vanished in an instant, leaving him to confront himself without any protection anymore. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one, and to not miss the next reflections from Antoine. As he walked away from the shop, his thoughts kept returning to Pierre. The old man he had befriended seemed to possess a serenity that Antoine couldn't understand. The first time he had met him, Pierre had said something that had struck him. "You can't change the past, but you can change the way you deal with it." Antoine had thought about that phrase for a long time. If he couldn't change his failure, what could he do? How could he make sense of what had happened? Pierre's words made their way into his mind every day. They lived in him, slowly transforming his perception of the world. Despite the harshness of street life, he began to notice details that he had previously ignored. The noises of the city were no longer just an annoyance, but became part of a constant rhythm that helped him focus on the present. Even the biting cold of the Parisian nights had its meaning, awakening in him a survival instinct that he had never known. Have you ever experienced a moment of reflection so profound? Leave a comment and share your experience. One rainy morning, Antoine took refuge under the roof of a small church in a suburban neighborhood. The smell of humidity was penetrating, mixed with that of coffee from a nearby bar. Pierre joined him shortly after, as if he knew exactly where to find him. "Today is a good day for reflection," Pierre said, sitting next to him, his hat pulled down over his face to protect him from the rain. "The rain washes away what is not needed." "What is left to wash away?" Antoine asked, his tone sarcastic. "I have already lost everything." Pierre looked at him patiently. "You have not lost everything. You have not lost yourself yet." Do these words affect you? Take a moment to reflect on what is inside you and share your thoughts. Those words echoed in Antoine's mind. He had never considered that, despite having lost everything materially, there was still something inside him that he could save. Pierre, with his way of being, was slowly leading him towards a new awareness. But this awareness was not linked to an economic or social rebirth. It was an internal rebirth, an awakening of the human essence that went beyond success and failure. Antoine began to see Pierre not only as a friend, but as a sort of teacher. Every meeting with him was an opportunity to reflect, to look at the world from a different perspective. Pierre often spoke of a word, mu, a Zen concept that represents emptiness, nothingness, but not nothingness in the sense of loss or lack. Mu was the opening to infinite possibilities, a field where the mind could be free from preconceptions, from the weight of the past and fears of the future. Want to know more about the concept of mu? Dig deeper into our previous videos and discover its true meaning. One evening, as the two sat by the river, Antoine asked Pierre about his past. He wanted to know more about this man who seemed to have found inner peace in the midst of the storm of life. Pierre calmly told him about his previous life. He had been a respected engineer, with a family and a promising career. But an accident at work had changed everything. After a long lawsuit, he lost not only his job, but also his dignity. His family had moved away, and before long, he had found himself in the same situation as Antoine, living on the streets. "But how did you find this peace?" Antoine asked, incredulous that someone could recover from such a devastating fall. "It wasn't an easy road," Pierre replied. "But one day I met a monk. He lived in a small temple outside the city. He didn't tell me what to do, he just invited me to sit with him in silence. At first, I hated that silence. I was used to the noise, to the action. But over time, I began to see that there was something much deeper in silence. That's where I found my peace." Do you want to discover the power of silence and meditation? Start practicing meditation today and watch the changes in your life. Antoine listened attentively. He had never thought that silence could be so powerful. His life had always been frenetic, full of commitments, goals, deadlines. Now, for the first time, he was faced with an opportunity to look inside himself, to understand who he really was, beyond labels and social roles. One day, driven by curiosity and the desire to explore that path indicated by Pierre, he decided to go to the Zen temple. The trip out of Paris seemed almost unreal, as if he were leaving his old life behind forever. The temple was small and simple, surrounded by nature. There, he met the monk Pierre had told him about. He was a man of few words, but with a look that seemed to pierce him. Without formality, he invited him to sit on a meditation cushion. The first meditation session was difficult. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, worries, painful memories, but the monk did not judge him, nor did he try to teach him anything. He only encouraged him to breathe, to let go, to be present in the moment. Have you ever tried meditating? Start now with simple breathing exercises and discover how much it can change the way you approach life. Over time, Antoine began to feel a growing calm within him. It was not a passive calm, but a sense of fullness. He began to understand what Pierre and the monk had talked about. True value is not found in possessions, but in being. Awareness of the present, the ability to live without attachment to material things, was the key to finding an inner peace that no failure could destroy. Street life remained difficult, but Antoine was no longer the man who wandered in despair through the streets of Paris. Now he was a person who had found meaning in the midst of chaos. He began to see life with new eyes, and in those moments of solitude and silence, he realized how precious the simple act of being alive was. Back in Paris, Antoine decided to volunteer at a homeless shelter. He shared his story with others who were in the same situation and slowly began to build a new community. The differences between rich and poor that he had experienced firsthand were no longer insurmountable barriers, but bridges that could be crossed through compassion and empathy. Antoine had finally understood that true wealth was found in human relationships, in the ability to be present for others, and above all, in the awareness that every moment of life is an opportunity to be reborn. Have you found inspiration in Antoine's story? Subscribe to our channel for more stories that can change your perspective on life.